He says, be innocent as doves. Don't go around hurting people, but be wise as serpents. Okay? Jesus said that. Well, Abram was that kind of prudent person that he prepared for banditry and war by training his servants under arms. And he got them together along with his allies, his neighbors there in Hebron, and they chased these guys at about 120 miles. They were on the west side of the Jordan, the bad guys were on the east, and they caught them at this little town called Dan. Now, it wasn't the Dan of the Israelites later. It's a different place. It's south of Damascus, about, say, 35 miles, roughly. And he caught them there, and he attacked them by night. And he ruined their day and their entire expedition. He routed them and followed them for almost a day and a half and killed them as they fled. Okay? Abram did this. And he slaughtered the kidnappers, and he got all the kidnappees back, and he also got all the stuff back. Okay? Now, remember I told you that I figured out that there's a connection between our modern day laws and the biblical laws? Well, look at this. Did you know that if a person kidnaps someone in Alabama, that anybody, law enforcement or citizen, can use any force up to and including killing the kidnapper until and unless he releases the victim. And that's exactly what Abram did. Okay? Exactly what he did. And we've got the very same thing in our law today. Isn't that interesting? And so he said, well, wait a minute. A person of God that loves God, a person who's holy, he doesn't go out and kill people like that. And I say, let's see. Because what does Abram do next? Well, he's rescued all the people, but they live in the south. It's time to march back those 120 or so miles and settle everything down. And he gets to the town of Salem, which later is called Jerusalem. And Jerusalem has a king. His name is Melchizedek. Now, he was kind of he was the representative of God on earth. Everybody that knew, if you wanted to get a hold of Jehovah God, then Melchizedek was the man to talk to. All right? And he pretty much spoke for God at that time. And Abram stops there, and Melchizedek meets him with bread and wine. Is that kind of make a connection with you there? Well, but some people have said that Melchizedek was a pre-incarnation incarnation of Jesus. But in any case, Melchizedek was definitely God's holy representative on earth. And what did he say? He said, Abraham, blessed are you of the Most High God. He's literally got blood on his hands, people. And yet, he's blessed by God. Why? Because he did the right thing. Oh, you mean people of faith can even kill people, and that's the right thing, and they can be told by God, good shooting, son. Yes. Yeah, that's what it teaches us. And how do we know that? Well, because not only does God's representative on earth come out, but if he messed up somehow with God, God wouldn't have continued the covenant with him, would he? But in verse 15, chapter 15, verse 1, it says, now after all these things, what happens in chapter 15 is when God finalizes his covenant with Abraham, telling him his seed will inhabit the earth and his children will be as the sand on the seashores and the stars in the sky, okay? So obviously, Abram, by using force and killing bad guys, did not disqualify himself from being a leader of the faith for both the Jews and the Gentiles. Okay? And see, and it comes down to our very laws today. Anybody have any questions about that? Comments? Curses?
Curses.
All right. So, see, that's part of the Old Testament there. Now, then come to, well, what about, is there actually an imperative to help people in the Old Testament? Well, if you look at Leviticus 19:18, and you look at the Hebrew translation, I went down to the local synagogue and I actually got the book that translated from Hebrew straight into English. And it says that you shall not stand idly by the blood of your neighbor. And the rabbinic commentary there says, well, this means that if your neighbor is drowning, you should try to save him. If his ox is in the ditch, help him get it out. If he's being attacked by robbers, and I go, what? If he's being attacked by robbers, then get in there and help him. Hot dog! And it says in Leviticus 19, that's Leviticus 19:16, I'm sorry. Leviticus 19:18 then says, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. All right? In other words, I need to be saved, rescued, in the way that's going to actually accomplish the rescue. If I happen to have 3 outlaw bikers that have got me down by a wall outside and they're kicking my ribs in, I don't need a Muslim to come up to me and say, you know, if you'd have done more good deeds, you wouldn't have gotten in this situation. I don't need a Hindu to come up and tell me, you know, you don't really need to worry about this because in the next life cycle, when you're reborn again, this won't matter. Okay? And I don't need a Buddhist to come up and go, this ain't happening, just ignore it. I need somebody to deal with my busted ribs and my ruptured spleen right now, right? Okay? And that is what God says when He says, do unto others as you would have done to yourself. Not, do not do unto others, but you not have done to yourself. That gives me a license to ignore everything as long as I don't cause any bad things, then I'm not responsible for any bad things. Now that's real cute. That's what man-made religions do, like Islam and Hinduism and Buddhism. But God says, do love your neighbor as yourself. Okay? So, when we have these things, and then we go forward, and we go to Proverbs, chapter 3, along about verse 23, 24, and it says, give to your neighbor when you have the ability to do so, and when you have it with you. Do not say to your neighbor, come back tomorrow, and I will help you. He says, help him now. And then God makes it clear with a command in Proverbs 24, verses 10 through 12. Verse 10 says, if you are slack in the day of trouble, so you will be weak in your day of trouble. In other words, if you don't help people when they're in trouble, guess if anybody's going to help you when you need help. And then it says, rescue those who are perishing, and snatch away those who are staggering to slaughter. Oh, hold them back. And if you say, verse 12, we did not say this. Does not He who keeps your souls know this? And will He not give an account, or render an account to every man for his actions? That's a command. And can't you see Solomon? You know, looking ahead 3,000 years and seeing his descendants being herded on the boxcars by SS troopers with machine guns and German shepherds, and they're off to Treblinka or Auschwitz. Rescue those who are perishing. Snatch them away from death. Hold them back. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the German minister who actually worked against Hitler all through the war. He actually wormed his way into the German intelligence agency. And he was supposed to be an ambassador for Nazi Germany to all the Christians out there. What he did is he worked against Nazi Germany all the time. He and his boss were both finally arrested and put in prison, and they were executed 30 days before Hitler killed himself. But Bonhoeffer one of the things he said was, not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act. And it says the Lord sees this. You know, the people of Dachau, when Dachau was liberated, the Americans went to the town and said, well, what did you think was going on there? The town was less than 2 miles away. Well, what did you think the bad smell was? Oh, we thought it was a glue factory. It's a leather tannery. And so what did they do? The Americans and British made every single adult citizen come down to Dachau and bury the dead and walk among the heaps and heaps of dead. And when they went home that night, the mayor, his wife, and most of the other town leading citizens committed suicide because they knew. And they knew that God was watching. All right? So see, we have an imperative in the Old Testament to save people. Well, Mr. Craig, what about the fact of using weapons? Well, you go to Isaiah chapter 54. Now, many of you have heard and used the verse that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. That's 54:17. But if you back up a couple of verses, you find this. It says, first of all, it says, don't blame me when you're assailed by evil. We know from James chapter 1 that James tells us God is the giver of all good things. Okay? So, evil is a result of Satan's lies and man's submission to those lies. All right? It says, but if they attack you, you shall overcome them. It says, have not I myself, says the Lord, created the smith who blows the coals in order to produce a weapon? And have I not created the destroyer, that weapon for ruin of the bad guys? This is, therefore, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. We're supposed to save ourselves with weapons. God gave us the tech. God loves to see man's mind work. I mean, after all, in Genesis, didn't he have Adam? He created all the animals, and then he let Adam name them. Because God loves to see how we work. And nowadays, we have these miracles of medicine that we can save people's lives that people just 50 years ago could not even imagine. And just as God gives us that technology to help people, He's given us this technology. I have given you, it says, have I not created the smith